Hello, and welcome to another episode of The End of the Search. This one I call it, The Mind Cannot Drive You Crazy. You're thinking, wait a minute, I don't get it, what do you mean by that? Listen carefully. The mind cannot drive you crazy. The mind is crazy. You see? Now, the illusion that the mind can drive me crazy is because I am identifying with it. That's all. The mind is crazy by itself. That's why I always say, don't believe anything you think. Nothing. The mind is just filled with concepts, filled with beliefs, with seeming past experiences, evaluations, and it's just crazy. But you, on the other hand, not you as a person, remember, I'm not talking from person to person, I'm just talking on a much broader space. You as that which cannot be named, call it essence, absolute love, all-encompassing, whatever, but you are not crazy or not crazy. You simply are. So the mind, it's always crazy and it's throwing all kinds of suggestions, but you remain, and we're pointing to that which remains. So when that which remains does not identify with the mind cannot drive you crazy. But when that which is what remains, identified with the mind, experience the consequences of the craziness of the mind. You see? It's not crazy, the essence, but it appears to be. It's like when you're dreaming. When you're in bed and you're fine. When you identified with the dream, you seem to experience the consequences of that identification. You don't need to blame the dream. The dream is crazy. The dream is completely, it makes no sense. If you can see it as a dream, no problem. If you believe that the dream is who you are, that's where the problem comes in. So, what are we doing in these videos? I'm not asking you to do anything with the mind, not even meditation, nothing. The mind, leave it alone. The suggestion here is to simply be, you see? Now, why this seems to be so difficult? In reality, it is not, because you are always being. Try not to be right now. Really, try not to be. You can never not be. You are always being. The problem is you believe the mind that sold you the concept of you are being something. You cannot say you're a man or a woman unless you go to the mind. Without that, what are you? You cannot tell me what your name is unless you go to the mind. You cannot tell me what you do or who you are unless you go to the mind. But what if you didn't listen to anything the mind says? Then you simply are. And that's what we're pointing to here. And that way, the mind cannot drive you crazy. Yeah, you can see the mind as a witness saying all kinds of things and all kinds of stuff and all kinds of crazy, whatever the case may be in its craziness, but you're the witness, right? Now, the mind, I always say, is used only to execute, but not as an advisor. What I mean by that is that I don't listen to the mind. No, I don't even ask questions to the mind. I don't even bother with that. I don't sit to try to ask the mind questions to see what kind of answers the mind is going to come up with. They're all crazy. I am simply being. And I see how life uses this instrument, and the mind can be used, or the conceptual mind, put it this way, is simply to execute. An idea may come through, an inspiration, and then the conceptual mind is used to carry on that inspiration. But I never know what's going to happen in the day. Even if it appears as if in some cases may be like an agenda, whatever the case may be, but I see it as another thought, I don't see it as something important. And sometimes they things that may be written down because that is what the inspiration leads me to. But even when I write them down, I don't know if any of those things will take place unless or until I find myself doing them. You see? Now that requires trust. Trust in life, which is what you really are. Not trust in the mind, which is what you have convinced yourself to be. Because the mind is the one that tells you who you think you are. It's very simple. This is very obvious. If I ask you, who are you? You have to go to the mind to give me an answer. If you don't go to the mind, you are. You see? But we're so used to, identified with the mind, that's what we've been taught, that we cannot even conceive the possibility that there's another way of living. In some cases, doesn't have to be with everybody, but in some cases, or sometimes in most cases, until we cannot deal with the mind anymore and we finally surrender, when we give up. I have all the things that I thought that I wanted and I'm still not feeling fulfilled. I'm pursuing the next thing because the mind tells me that when I get the next thing I'll be happy, and I'm still not happy. Or I lose something that I so much wanted because the mind told me that was so important and that defined me. If I lose my job, who I am, I thought that I was my job. I am an engineer, I am a doctor, I am a pilot, I am an actor, I'm a musician. If I don't get any work, then who am I? You see? I am a mother. Now well, not in my case, but of course, in your case maybe. Or if I was a father, I've never had any children, but let's say I'm a father, or, well, okay, I'm a mother, and then my children, they're going to school, I'm no longer taking care of them, then who am I? I lose my sense of identity. You never had a sense of identity. You never had an identity. You simply are. You believed an identity, and that is mind stuff. See? When you wake up in the morning, and you notice that life is happening, and you don't identify with the concepts of the mind cannot drive you crazy. It's impossible. The mind only drives me crazy, once again, when I identified with it. Now, always remember that these videos are paradoxical, because you being an instrument, if you're going to identify with the mind, because that is what's supposed to happen, you'll find yourself identifying with the mind. What can I tell you? And yet, look how the instrument is led to listen to this information. Well, then act as if you cannot identify with the mind, even though when you know that in the end you will or you will not according to your script. That's the paradox. At the same time that we seem to be the creator, the protagonist, the writers and the producers of our own movie, at that very same time we play extra on a much bigger play. That's just the way it is. So to me, it's very simple. I don't deal with any of those. I don't get caught up in any of that. I simply noticed that it seemed as if though I can choose not to identify with the mind, and that's it. And if I find myself identified with the mind, I don't blame myself for that. I see, okay, that's the way it's supposed to happen. And yet somehow the disidentification happens, and I said, okay, that's the way it is. But you see, we're losing the sense of identity, and this is what it scares the most people. I mean, because they need to have a sense of identity in order to identify with the craziness of the mind. I can only believe what the mind is trying to sell if I am willing to buy it by believing that I am this separate entity, you see. If you simply are, and I tell you or say all sorts of things to you, whether compliments or whether insults, if you are simply being, those words, which are just basically clouds that are meaningless, they seem to pass right through you. You see, they don't have a place to land. But if you believe you're that person and you hold on to that identity very strongly, then I can insult you. Yeah, I can insult you, or I can, I don't know, worship you. It doesn't matter. And if I insult you, you'll feel bad. And if I worship you, you feel good. But in reality, you're just believing, using those concepts without realizing, to keep holding on to the sense of identity. If people ask me, who are you? Oh, my name is Nick, no big deal. But I know that I am nobody and I am nothing. And I'm so happy to just be. I don't care any labels people want to place on me. You know, oh, he must be an author because he has written books. I don't care. I'm not an author. I'm just a guy. I'm not even a guy. I am. And then through this instrument, sometimes music is created, sometimes books are written, language is expressed, speaking may happen, you know, all sorts of things do happen through the instrument, but there's crystal clear that I am none of the labels that society may want to place upon me. See? And this is just it's a form of disappearance. It's not like you're disappearing from the world and, you know, your family will never see you or anything. No, you still behave. I mean, not behave. You still play the role, but you don't believe the role because the role is a concept of the mind. You follow? And at the beginning, this seems threatening because we build our we build our whole life around the concepts that we've learned of who I think I am. See? But interestingly enough, when you really see how much pressure there is to hold on to that concept, you know, finally letting go of all those concepts, which is a sort of a death, is the death of the ego, so to speak, because the ego is a sense of identity, right? When that is released and you're okay with that, you realize, oh my God, life is, you take a huge weight off your shoulder. And again, the mind goes, but how am I going to function? Again, you don't have to worry about it because life is functioning you. You are not functioning life. Life is functioning you. Life is using you. Life is the one who decides if you're making a left turn or a right turn. So it's not you who are doing that. So life will do whatever it's going to do with this character. Right now, it has it making a video. And during the day, we'll have him to do whatever needs to be done. I don't know, I don't need to know, and I don't care. Or I should say, I don't mind. It doesn't matter what words I use to try to point to the fact that I am, that you are, that life is. You see? And then you begin to look at everyone with a different heart, with a different, in a different light. People are doing what they're supposed to do. You don't feel sorry for them, you don't feel pity, you feel compassion. Because you realize that what they're doing is their conditioning. And some of their conditioning may seem to be very harsh, may seem to be very difficult. And yet, that is the conditioning that life itself through them needs to express in order to see if at some point they break down and they're willing to surrender and become free. You see? Holding on to the identity is very difficult. Letting go, it's a relief. And yet it may seem that it's as if take some time to make that transition. In reality, it's instant, but okay, let's one step at a time. We're so used to believing of all the concept of who we are, the good and the not so good, so okay, we're dropping them both to rest in the I amness, in the I am that I am, or the I am, you see. Let's put it to the test right now to see that this is not esoteric, this is not something that I'm making up. It's very obvious. It's just that the mind cannot even grasp it. It's impossible for the mind to grasp it, but it's very, very obvious. Don't try to grasp it with the mind. Let's put it to the test right now. I'm going to ask you, pay attention. I've done this in every single video, but if this is the first video you see of me, well, then you will notice the repetition of it. Right now, don't identify with any thoughts. I did not say the thoughts will not be there. They will be there. That's what they do. They appear and they disappear. Just don't identify with any thoughts right now. And even me, if you say, it's difficult, I have this problem, I have these problems as a thought. These are thoughts that are telling you, look what's going on. What's really going on right now is that you're watching a video, end of story, okay? So, and not even that is happening, but it seems as if though. So anyhow, right now, do not identify with any thoughts. Just don't identify with them. Just be right now, beingness. Let them say what they're gonna say. Let them scream. Let they tell you you're going crazy. Let them say whatever they're gonna say. Just notice that they are just thoughts. Don't identify with them. Okay? And now, what is left? And pay close attention here, because the mind is going to try to answer that question. So you may say, there's peace. No, that's a thought. You see, I don't even want to go there. Notice what's left when you don't identify it with the thoughts. And the mind try to sneak up again. There's a sense of spaciousness. There's not, don't let the mind try to describe what is undescribable. Even watch the mind. You can watch that as a thought. Oh, there's a thought that appears that is saying, oh, there's peace, there's tranquility. Nothing. Don't identify with any thoughts. And what there is beingness, is what is. You see, even the word beingness is a thought, but again, I'm just trying to do the best to, I'm pointing to the obvious of existence. You see? See, it's just pure existence. You cannot say, I am not. You cannot say anything, you simply are. That's existence, that's the core, that's what we're pointing to here. That's always, that never changes. That is permanent. But it's overshadowed by thoughts, you see. That's why in the last book that I wrote, what is before any thought, you see. That's what we're pointing to here. That's why we're not here to talk about this. This is not, yes, it's a video is being done because that is how the inspiration moved this character, but in the end, this is not a theme of conversation. I'm pointing to the obviousness of existence, which is. See? And when we stop believing the mind, even the mind saying, but what are you going to do? How are you going to move? All these are just thoughts. You rest in beingness because it's what you are, you see. Remember, I'm not talking to you as a person. This is not me telling you what to do or not to do. Again, this is the limitation of language, but this is that which is all there is that seems to be projecting this you and this me, and it's talking to itself. It's a monologue, not a dialogue. See, when you're in bed dreaming, in the dream, it appears as if there's a you talking to somebody else, but in reality, the mind that is dreaming the whole thing is talking to itself, distracted with the dream, with its own projection. So right now, I'm asking you to simply notice when you don't identify with any thoughts, you see, what is left. And that's what we're pointing to. You see, this is obvious. And when you stop believing the mind altogether, and then you notice how life moves you. You still will take care of the children if you have them. You still will deal with whatever you have to deal with your life. Nothing of that is going to change except the way you're dealing with the experience. That will change because you're not coming from fear. It's more like life inspiring you, inspiration, you see. You don't do things because you're trying to achieve anything or trying to pursue a particular outcome. You see how things are done through you, and whatever outcome is going to come out of it will come naturally as part of the expression of life through you as the instrument. You see? And then you relate to the world differently. You're still relating to the world because as long as there's the appearance of you as a person, you're still going to be relating, but somehow you're not believing it anymore. You're not taking it so seriously because now you're not believing the content of the mind, and that's when you finally realize that the mind doesn't have the power to drive you crazy. It's when you identify with the mind, which is already crazy, that it appears as if you're going crazy. But now you're seeing the mind. Let it be as crazy as it is. Let it talk all it wants, but you simply are, you see. And that is all that there is. Well, this is the inspiration that came through this instrument. I hope it served. And as always, may peace permeate the mind so that love can be extended.